Yes.
Colorado, and we study symbols and monuments and things as part of our first grade social studies unit. And statue is one of them. So I thought whatever I take, then I can.
It'd be my pleasure. Ask whether can this be work with you here? Or?
Yeah,
Well, here, no,
it's fine. Oh, we're going this way.
tell me about
Well, first of all, I should probably introduce myself. I'm Monsieur Bartholdi, but you can call me Auguste.
Okay.
My full name is Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, and I am the designer, the sculptor of the statue. You know, a Statue of Liberty,
Yes.
but it's more formally known as Liberty Enlightening the World.
Okay.
Or the way we say it in France is La Liberté éclairant le monde. Liberty Enlightening the World describes the pose. Maybe that she's liberty, you knew that already.
Okay.
She's the personification. You know, that's a big word for some people, meaning that it's a person who represents an idea.
Okay.
She is a person who represents the idea of liberty. From the ancient Romans, they're the goddess named Libertas. The flame in her hand represents the enlightenment liberty brings to us all. Thus, liberty enlightening the world. And I am the designer, the sculptor of the statue, not to make it sound like I did all the work myself, but I am responsible for what she looked like.
Okay.
That is to say, if you think of her as a living, breathing person, I know she's not, I'm not crazy. Figuratively speaking, it's like I designed the flesh, and then Gustave Eiffel designed the skeleton.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
I make the outside, you make the inside.
So who hired you? Like, how did they come to you?
It wasn't anything quite so formal. It was actually a good friend of mine by the name of Monsieur Laboulay. Laboulay was a lawyer, a teacher, an author, and he loved America. He'd never been here, but he loved America. He'd written books about you, and in fact, some of his best friends were Americans. I got to know him when I was hired to do a bust at him, and I started getting invited to these gatherings at his house. One of them took place in 1865. And there that night, as was often the case, the subject of America came up. I think specifically because your war was fighting.
Right.
The one you were fighting with yourself. You know, the war between your states. The war of the secession. What do you call it? Civil War, thank you. Civil War. I always have a hard time putting the word civil and war next to each other. Because there's nothing civil about war. But I guess my point is, whatever you want to call it, we're glad it's over. Glad the United States is reunited, that slavery has been abolished. And we start talking about how we got here. How did we get to this point? The Laboulay said, well, it really all started going back to the revolution. I mean, your revolution obviously was 1776, but we played a part in it. Because you wrote these words, all men are created equal. Then all these French people came over to help you. And it wasn't just because they didn't like English. I'm not sure there was no love lost there. But what was more important was they liked these ideas you said. And they came here and they helped you take your first steps away from the monarchy. And then once they did that, they said, all right, now we helped them. Now it's time to go home. I think we still got a king there. We should do something about that. That led to the French Revolution of 1789. Now, those revolutions, I want to believe, would have happened eventually. But they happened sooner, better, and stronger because of how we help each other. And Laboulay said, because of that, there's a fraternity of feeling between France and between the United States that we have, whether we even know it or not. People say it's a gift of friendship. Yes, we are friends, and I hope we're friends. But this is different friends, maybe parallel to them. But this idea of this fraternity of feeling, it's within all the freedoms that we have, whether we know it or not. Some people, myself included, experience this, even though I've heard something about it. There are other people who don't even know anything about it. These next generation, they said, people need to know. There should be a monument to remind us of where we come from, with an eye towards where we need to go next. When I heard them say it, it made me think about, well, when I was very young, 20 years old, I visited Egypt. And I saw the pyramids, the Sphinx, the Colossi of Thebes, and I was just overwhelmed by the colossal works. And I said, I would make something like that. But when I heard Laboulay say this, it made me think about that again. But maybe I can come up with something like these colossal works in Egypt that is worthy of this man's vision. That's what inspired me to come up with Liberty and Life. Now, it didn't happen right away. Over the next 2 years or so, I would see him, and they would mention ideas, and by 1871, we were at sort of a turning point in France. We'd just gotten a new republic back, and he said, I think it's time. So he sent me to America, and for that trip I was telling you about before, where I spent 5 months traveling all over the United States. And it's after that we decided, all right, let's try to do this. And he started a committee called the French-American Union, which was a fundraising organization, and I, as a member of the committee, started meeting with people to figure out how this would happen. Yes.
over in all these crates.
Right, 214 crates.
Was that? Did you come again to America to help put on?
I came a few months later. So she arrived here in June of 1885. 350 pieces, 214 crates, one boat. Because she only weighs about 450,000 pounds. And there was a lot, but the boat had a capacity for as much as 800,000 pounds. So it was manageable. But you didn't finish raising money for the pedestal until about 2 months after it got here. That was August of 1885, but now the end is in sight. So I came here that November and I met with the crew. And I explained it to them, I gave them an overview, tell them how everything fits back together. Went back to France and they started putting it back together on their own. Between April and October of 1886, they completely reassembled it. Then I came here on the 28th of October for the unveiling. 11 years after we started building. I think it's worth it.